everyone, welcome back to another episode of the pod. I am Lily, DCTUK's product marketing executive, and I am sat down today with Sally, a lovely production designer. So I'm going to talk to you today a little bit about yourself, and let's just get into it. So tell me all about you. What do you do? How did you get here?
So I started off originally studying design. So I studied architecture and interiors and things at university with the understanding that I would at some point try and make a move into film, TV.
Okay.
So when I was designing, I was always in worlds where we were talking about construction methods and aircon and how these were being implemented into interiors. And I found myself phasing away into more the finishes and how the structures would be. And I was always fighting something when I was at university. So I knew that I was going to be moving into a different world. So for quite a few years, I was studying at a couple of different universities. So I studied in Ipswich, spatial awareness and design, moving into architecture up in Hull.
Okay.
And then from there I went over to America to study my master's. And I don't know why I went over there, but I think it was like a challenge,
Just the rush of it.
an adventure to go and do something different. But
That's nice.
in America you can also choose your modules. So you're not told on Monday you're studying this, on Wednesday you're studying this. If you wanted to study construction methods and colour theories or welding or something like that, you could actually start taking courses and classes in those different areas. So that's, I think, one of the things that I wanted to go over there to do.
Yeah.
So my studying was kind of looking at all those construction methods of technical drawing, and then your AutoCAD through to models making, mood boards, rendering. And actually the skills are very similar to set design, and it crosses over very easily. The only thing that you think differently on is it's not lasting for long. For me, 6 months is maybe the maximum my designs will last. Yeah. You might put them back in again for series 2, 3, 4, but the construction of it doesn't have to stand up for very long. Yeah. And we can also fake it, as we call it. We fake it and tether up. So the wall might be an angle that you don't have to really work with, and it's being held up invisibly behind by steel structures.
Does that take a lot of kind of thinking?
Yeah, so your engineering side of it actually comes back into how you're designing and working again. So everything you learn at university doing the interiors and architecture actually do come back round again, but just in a different way, really. So when I was in America and I finished doing everything over there, I ended up going into office design. Okay. And we were working in new builds or redeveloping things, buildings. And it was just looking at that differently with all the same methods. So I was doing all the technical drawing for everything. Yeah. I was creating all the mood boards, gaining all the samples of everything. I was doing that in London remotely in their offices there for about 6 to 7 years. Wow. Whilst I was doing that, I was getting itchy feet. And I was starting to go,
like you do in the design industry.
Exactly. When my creativity started getting stifled, because it was like one client after another with the very similar requests, I started thinking about other things. Okay. So I then did a couple of weeks of holiday and ended up working with a designer for free in TV and helping them. And the show ended up being The In-Betweeners. And so they were asking me if I could just do a few little graphics for them. And it came about via a friend of a friend. Oh, wow. I tried all the main methods of trying to get into TV, doing their work experiences and everything like that. And it wasn't working out. And I knocked on lots of doors. So everyone's always, I think even in any other profession, any other industry, you try and knock on the doors a lot. And everyone's like, I didn't get there. But you keep knocking. And I would say the process of starting to knock on the doors of trying to get into TV took me between 2 to 3 years before I ended up really getting big, focused, paid jobs that meant the other job didn't need to support me financially. So I ended up kind of working a little bit with them. I did The In-Betweeners. We did all the graphics for it. Wow. That rolled into being a 3-month contract. And now my other job had to change.
Of course.
And the progression was doing graphic design, jumping on a few technical drawings, being on set when we constructed something. And it's really easy. Your skills just come in again, because they're like, oh, how does this wall need to stand up? And you can see it so clearly. Oh, if you bolt from the side, if you bring it down from the top, it's really similar to interiors.
Yeah, it does sound like it is.
It's really, I mean, how do you block a shot? How do you stop people looking, when they come in the front door? How do you stop them seeing the rest of the office? Well, how do you stop them seeing the cameras? It's exactly the same sort of ideas. I'm going to put up a wall here with boxes and books and plants. That should stop them seeing around the corner where the cameras are. So you kind of start working in the same sort of way with it, and you realize that it's so easy to cross over with those skills.
Definitely.
And so then we ended up making all the white models that we used to kind of start working with the directors. And so the designer would give me technical drawings. I would then recreate a white working model, and we would then take that back into a meeting. And bit by bit, I become more known to people. So then the jobs become stronger, longer, better paid. And then I ended up really working, other jobs come, and before you know it is your full-time job.
Of course.
But you're working as a freelancer, so it is job to job to
it's
job.
Hard.
Yeah,
a lot harder.
So it's all about conversations. It's talking to people. It's telling them your skills, which is very interesting, because when you apply for a job, which is more a 9 to 5, you are selling yourself maybe once,
of course,
and then you're there for 2 to 3 years. When you're freelancing, you are going in and you are literally saying, I can do this for you. Look at what I can do. And that's very difficult for you to start selling yourself and saying, I'm brilliant at this, by the way.
I'm so good.
My models, here's
humble.
my models. Yeah, exactly. So it does end up being very, very interesting to kind of change those skills with yourself. And rejections are, you're rejected a lot.
Of course.
And I think talking to interior designers and everything, as I've gone over the years, they put themselves forward for a project and they don't win it, and it's that same rejection.
It's being bogged down and just getting back up again.
It literally is. You just got to get back in. Maybe that TV show wasn't right for you. This one is. And it still happens to me now. Last week, I got a couple of rejections, and you're like, now is it going to be a good show? And I told them that I don't think you've chosen the right person. I think it should have been me. But there you go. But it's constant. It is constant. And I think it's also constant that your designs don't always work right.
Yeah, of course.
So you maybe need to go back and rejig it. And you may work differently, or the styling that you've chosen is not right. So it's very similar, I think, to working in the design world in
definitely.
Different industries.
And
so when I ended up doing the In-Betweeners, we was on set. So I was designing from home, creating stuff, and then going on set to implement it into the set. And it was kind of getting in there, seeing the rush of it. It was quite exciting to be watching it. And then at the first In-Betweeners, it wasn't actually called the In-Betweeners. I think it was originally called Baggy Trousers, because it was going to be set back in the 1980s, 70s, 80s.
Oh, right.
And the writers were the same age as me, so it was their era of growing up in school.
So they knew it well.
Stories that actually happened to them, and they created a script around it. And so we ended up working with them. And then it realised that actually we needed to put it into modern day. Modern day back then. And so we were kind of creating it around new school logos. So we couldn't use a logo that existed. So I had to design a new logo, manipulate it. And then we put it on their tops, made big things for the buildings. We created everything for that.
That's crazy.
And what you do is you work through the script and you notice your part. So if you're a designer, you're looking down and you're seeing that's to do with me. And then, or it might say, and the daylight hit through the window. Well, that's kind of me and lighting. So we now need to work together and things like that.
Hello everyone. We hope you are enjoying this episode of The Pod. A big thank you to Sally Locke for ordering the lovely Deso Arable from us. And if you like this product, check it out on our website, because we supply and fit nationwide, wherever you are in the country.
So those kind of roles started growing for me within the In-Betweeners. Then the designer liked me and took me on to Friday Night with Jonathan Ross.
Brilliant.
And so I ended up running on that as an art director, runner assistant. So what that would be is they come in and you're supporting them. You're learning from them all the time, but yet they might be like, oh, I need this. So for example, we had a musical artist, Lady Gaga, in, and she came in and she had a dress that moved mechanically, and but it was heavy. And so
my goodness.
What you're looking at is how they're going to film it.
Yeah.
And how we need to help her get into the dress, because you've got a limited amount of time for the artist to come in, get into this mechanical dress, for then the audience is in, for us to then switch over and start filming with it.
Yeah, I don't think people are realizing like how much work is like actually put into what you do. Obviously, I feel like people with set design might just think you obviously draw some, you know, maybe draw the set, figure out the colors, put it together, but it's actually like it's almost everything involved in one job.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of. There's so many different elements to it. Things are thrown at you last minute.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks you might have a lot of time. Sometimes I'm turning around designs in 24, 48 hours. And you're working with the director. Can you see what we're doing on camera? No, exactly. So before you know it, you're working and pulling bits from each team.
Everyone,
and you're trying to look at it as helping solve the problem. Be creative, and and also not be scared of the artists and the talent that you're with.
Well, that's what I was thinking, because obviously you must like come across a lot of people in this industry, whether they're famous or whether they're not famous. And I feel like, because you see these people often on TV, they always say like, never meet your idol, don't they? Like that's what they always say. I know my dad always says it as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what is it like meeting all of these different people? Has there ever been like anyone who you thought, wow, I didn't expect them to be that nice, or gosh, wow, I didn't expect them, no naming names, of course,
exactly.
just in case.
You do get some really lovely people, and also I always say this, that they come in and if they're a bit off, you don't know what they've been through. They may have had a row with their wives. They may have just got off a flight and be totally jet lagged. So you almost kind of you've just got to give them a break. And what we tend to not do is not approach them just to have a chat with them. You approach them for your work. So first of all, you may know them, but they don't know you.
Of course.
For example, we had Tom Hanks in. He is lovely. But I don't know what he's been through. He's just done a massive circuit of Europe promoting his film, and he's shattered. And so I don't need to approach him until it's my work. And otherwise all these people would just be going over. And he may just want 5 minutes out. So they, come on set and he collects antique typewriters.
Oh, really?
But it was blocking the shot. Oh. So the director was like, could we ask him to move it? So the first thing you have to do is say, I'm Sally, this is my role. So I'm Sally, I'm the art department, and I'm needing to move your typewriter. Before you know it, he is chatting away.
Oh my gosh.
He was just like, I love your antique markets in London. Where are some good ones I might need to go to? And you've just got to not be nervous around. They're just normal people.
They are just normal people.
They are just famous. And so then you're having a conversation and chat with them, and that's like the nice perk that you get.
That must be
sitting
nice.
there and listening to Lady Gaga rehearse, or and whoever you're working with.
I can imagine that was amazing. I love Lady Gaga.
And you're like, I'm getting paid to do this and listen to them. So it is. These are the highlights of it. And sometimes you do get some that are difficult, or some that are really method actors. That's one of the big ones. And they come in character. You cannot shift them from their character. You just have to roll with it. And be respectful of them creating their art. I mean, if somebody came up to me and started talking to me while I'm trying to design something, and I'd be like, oh my God, get out of my space. Get out of my space. Yeah, exactly. And here I can't, throw myself onto them for a chat when they're trying to get into character and things like that. So it's almost like, do your job, step back. If there's an opportunity to enjoy listening to someone play music or have a chat with them, then take it when it comes. And then, but also some of them are asking for your help. So they're, there were some things where we were doing on The In-Betweeners as an example, where one of the characters has to be ill and be sick. And we had to work with them and repeat the shot again and again and again. And so you're constantly like, are you okay? Can I help you? Can I do this? Can I do, because they're going through something really like, they're getting wet every single time, and we're having to clean them up, change them, bring them back out again. And so you're kind of saying, how can I help you in my role? And I mean, at the first time we're laughing, 10 takes later when they repeat it, because they have to shoot it from different angles. So when you see an actor that's crying on set and they're getting into an emotional scene, they have to go through that maybe 2-3 days sometimes. Wow. So that's why when we go, they deserve that Oscar or whatever. It's because they've gone through this really drama. You know, imagine crying all day for days on end. So there's one shot, which is the front shot. Then you've got the side shot, and then you've got the wide shot. Then you've got the establisher where they walk into the room, and so you know that they're in that room. Wow. Because if you imagine if you have a character that comes in, enters the front door, and then suddenly they cut to them sat on a chair. The viewer needs to see where they got to that place. Exactly. I mean, obviously, some creativity in that, how people edit it together, but that has to be worked through. And so you might need some of these established shots so that you realise the person's walked in the front door, walked over to the chair and sat down. 90% of that scene might be that. But the establisher may be like 2-3 seconds, but the viewer needs that to say that person has moved across that journey from there to there. Yeah, of course. And so, but if they're crying or they're shouting, that's one take. Sat down, that's another take. Talking with the two people, that's another take. You know, and sometimes the scenes go on and on and on. Yeah. And the person has to cry and cry and cry, or laugh and laugh and laugh, and it is exhausting.
Yeah, so I can imagine.
We take a lot of breaks. Yeah. We do, you know, just step back, let the person take, you know, half hour away. Yeah. And then we come back on set again and do some more work on it. And so sometimes, when they're a bit upset, maybe they're a bit tired. You know, we've worked with certain artists, music artists, and they're like, we've done something with them with a music video. They disappear for 2-3 days. We reset maybe something more complicated. In the meantime, that person's gone to New York for an awards show, gone over to LA to film some chat show, flown back to us in London, and then they're suddenly sat there in front of me again. And so you've got to be respectful that is maybe they're so tired. Yeah. And I see some people in the media on, you know, catching people angry or upset with them. And I think, do you know what have they just been through? Yeah. Are they shattered? Yeah, are they tired? You know, so, but for me, on my side of the design of it, you end up kind of working with them. Once they know what your role is, you totally get a different person in front of you. Of course. You know that they know that you're not there to get a story. They know you're there to do your job. Yeah. And so a lot of the time we're all creatives in the same world. In one place. Just all coming together. Yeah. They're the artist, the actors, or the singer. My set's what they will be sat within. Yeah. But without lighting, they will look awful, and without sound, we can't hear them. So everybody's got their role. Yeah. And we all kind of come together as a big team to create one moment of for camera, and then it goes to the edit, of course. And it goes to post production, and then they put their magic on it. Wow. And when you see all the names in the credits, every single one of those people has done something really worthy. Wow. In fact, you could probably double the names because we are all so busy on set. If you doubled it, you know, that would make our lives easier. Yeah. But every one of those persons work so hard to be able to create what they create. Yeah. Even the person in the accounts, if they don't give me my money to go out and buy my stuff,
you can't.
Then we can't do it.
Then we're not getting the set.
Yeah, exactly. So we're not going to get what we need. So so we've got you've got quite a few different people with their different roles, and each one is really necessary. And you're always grateful to them as well. Yeah. But in the moment, it can get quite stressful.
Yeah, of course. I can imagine it does. I suppose it's the same for like any kind of job, really. There's always things you don't see going on, and I think often, obviously, like, you know, for a film watcher or a TV watcher, I love films, I love TV, me sitting there watching it, you know, I'm probably not thinking about all of these people that are behind doing things. And do you know what, I will actually say I am a real, like, I really get into my films, and I really like to pick out details. And I am one of those weirdos that watches films and TV shows over and over again. It doesn't matter what it is. Friends, I think I've seen it like 5 times, and there's like 10 seasons of that.
That's it.
But I just keep watching them, and I pick out things, whether it's like kind of the position of something, or it's the window in the background with the rain that's going on. I'm like, oh gosh, that's so good. That's actually like, it almost makes the scene better. Yeah. Because without obviously the set, what do you have? It's just two people sitting in an empty room. And, you know, and I'd be a little bit like, oh.
Yeah, the set is one of those, it's the base for everything. But the set designer doesn't just work on that. They also work on what we call action props. So if someone's picking up a book and going, this is what you need to be reading, so I don't know, whatever they're saying, that has to be discussed. So what do we want the book to be like? Is it a thick book? Is it a thin book? What's on the book? So I've designed multiple covers.
Really?
Then you fake covers for cookery books or something. I've designed multiple fake newspapers.
Wow.
And then we've got companies that print and create our props. So they will do the random 2 or 3 prints. We don't need many more than that. So, but they'll print it onto newspaper paper. And, you know, so these are all things you have to think about. If you're filming from the 1970s, there's a whole font.
Oh yeah,
range.
Of course.
Everything's different. Your colour themes. I'm looking at something right now. I'm designing and we're doing different decades, and I'm having to go back, and it's very slight. What does a TV look like in the 80s compared to the 90s? And back in the 60s, they're the wood ones with the big dials.
Yeah.
That's really obvious, but it's very slight. The technical advances from the 80s to the 90s. Yeah. So you're now having to try and look at those, but it's very, if I don't get it right, the whole set will look like it's in the wrong era.
Yeah.
So you have to, what kind of videos were there? What records were? What paint choices were available in the 90s? And you start seeing the differences very quickly. And you're like, oh, okay, so they had this. So the 90s crossover from 80s to 90s would have been very floral. Yeah. So you would have big floral all over your sofas. And you suddenly start realizing it. Now we've got to recreate it. One of the things that when you're working on dramas or something like that is that it's new to them. So when people, I've not really done a lot of like real old dramas. So you're talking about your Charles Dickens eras and stuff. But if you're creating a table, it can't be, you can't get an old one and use it, because an old one is weathered, beaten, it's got tarnished areas. So what you have to sometimes do is recreate the table design with new finishes.
Oh my gosh.
Right. So make it look like the style, but really not weathered and aged and stuff.
Yeah, of course.
And it's the same with when we're looking at these sofas. I can go and get a secondhand sofa with all those finishes on, but it will have weathered corners and stains on it and things like that. I don't want that, because it's like I need it to look like it's just been bought.
New, but not modern.
Exactly. So these are all the things you start thinking about, how it could work, how the artist can work with it, the talent, and you're kind of working with them as well and trying to work it through, so it's everyone enjoys filming it, acting in it, lighting it, and when you're talking with the lighting team, it's all about textures. It's all about does this give you a glare that you don't want? So when, for example, you get a TV and they're filming TV, there will be a natural bounce off of it. And the lighting team will be fighting that. So they might need to light somebody, but the TV's here, and that light that's lighting them is now reflecting off. So now we're having a conversation about it. So do you want me to blank out the screen, and in post, will you then superimpose a TV image on top of it? You know, so you start, what have you got the money for to do that? What can I help you with? Do we angle the TV just slightly? Doesn't really impact the set too much. So these are all conversations you sometimes have on set, sometimes you have beforehand. And you sometimes get very clever with it, and you're like, my God, this is amazing. I can't believe we've managed to achieve this. And, you know, there's a couple of shows I'm watching that I start admiring what other designers have done. And very, very delicate things of doing two-way mirrored glass, so that the camera can shoot through it. But the mirrored glass is now reflecting what's here. So the camera on the other side is not shooting the camera.
Oh my God.
So, because you don't want to shoot directly at somebody else. And that is one of the biggest issues we've got, is moving the set around, moving the scene around. So if you're filming me right now, and then suddenly I need to film the other way, we reset, put in that set, then has to be rigged.
People really do notice that stuff as well. I've seen it on TikTok, people like noticing, and like I can't even remember what show it was, but it was something where a lady had a braid in her hair in one shot, and then in the next shot she had her hair like in a ponytail, and then she was back to a braid again.
Yeah.
And it was like, I was watching it, I was like, like, oh my goodness, like
it's so, and that's where the actors actually become valuable as well, because we'll say like if they're crying and then they do something like that and put their hair behind their ear at the same point each time, and they may take that 25 times, they have to do that behind their ear at each time at the same point. And if they're crying and they're getting angry or they're throwing something, so we have glasses that smash, and ours are made out of sugar. So because glass on set can be really dangerous, and there are times we do use it, but it's called sugar glass. So we can create anything out of sugar glass. It's, if you can't shoot through it because it has a few little bubbles in it because it is made of sugar. So, but if say like I'm drinking a glass of wine and then you smash it, that would be sugar glass. Wow. So, and then you'll have multiples of, because you're smashing it. And
now I'm going to be watching things where people smash glasses and we'll be like, that's sugar glass.
Yeah, it's very clever. It's really clever, actually.
That's so interesting.
When you work with them for something, and it may be like crystal cut glass, you have to work with them because you want it a certain style and things like that. Yeah. So, so then you end up with multiples of those, and they're very expensive. By the way, you are talking about certain glasses being like £200. Wow. And you're breaking it. So you know, when we're talking about budgets, we're like, we've got to put £2,000 away to the budget for the glasses. So you do have like these moments, like, and they're funny, and then they're hard, and so but I love being a part of that team where they're like. So one of the things with this on this runway was it was a James Corner thing, and we needed to get massive big animals onto the plane for some reason. I can't even remember why. And we're like, and this is how we talk about it. It's like, how can I get this giraffe and this donkey onto the Boeing 747 through that door? So then we were like, oh, wait, so now we've got to cut it apart. And so these are all our dilemmas. Oh my God. And we look at each other and go, I can't believe this is my job. How to get a giraffe onto a Boeing 747. So it's quite funny. And you're like, and then, you know, you kind of work these things through, and you're carrying the giraffe head under your arm, and everyone in the airport's watching you.
And you're like,
and we had to, well, the funny thing was we actually had to put it through security.
Oh my God, you didn't.
So we had to go into a special area where they scan in big things, like your surfboards and stuff like that. And we had to put this giraffe through on this
in the tray.
Literally, like, so I'm taking out all the things from my pocket, and the giraffe's going through on the conveyor belt, and it was like just grabbing it on the other end. So these are the funny parts, like, and we are laughing at the same time, and everyone's laughing with us and stuff. Lovely. And also, you know, you will find some of the celebrities will get involved and go, oh, can I lift that for you? Can I carry that? You know, and we were doing
nice as well.
Yeah, I think there's some really lovely people, and they really, you know, people do stand off from them or just ask them for a selfie. So if you're chatting with them, sometimes they're just, you know, just really, what they love it as well, just having a normal conversation.
Yeah, because they're at work as well, of course, aren't they? So I think like you probably, like, people on the outside might not think like for them they are working, that is their job. You know, they're coming in, like you said before, they might be jet lagged, they might have been traveling, this and that, and they, you know, they might not want people bombarding them, but one conversation with them might change like the whole mood for the day.
Absolutely. And I think that they just love a bit of normality
as
well. So when you're just talking about your family with them, and you know, they that's kind of what a lot of them want as well, just a bit of a grounding, you know, and things like that. So when we are working with them, it's really fun to kind of they get their input as well, because they have something. Some of them are actors but writers as well, you know, and sometimes you're like, how would you like this to be? And you might manipulate your design around it. So
that is so good. What I'm gonna do, thank you so much for that. It's so interesting what you do, honestly. Like I can't believe the people that you've spoken to and like met with. I'm literally like, I don't think I could ever do that job because I'd be too much of a fangirl, especially if it was Harry Styles. So if you're watching, Harry, I'm your biggest fan. What I'm gonna do to wrap up is quick fire, like 2 or 3 questions at you for you to answer. I'm gonna I've got one here, which I actually think would be good. If you had an unlimited budget and creative freedom, what's the dream set you'd love to build?
Oh, it would be magical. It would be like a Harry Potter.
Would it?
Yeah, it would be.
What house are you in?
Oh, I don't know Harry Potter's.
Know?
Yeah,
Really?
It's really bizarre, but like I love.
But you would.
Yeah,
just
the
be a
magical
whole design
of it all. Yeah.
Definitely.
I think it would be like Lord of the Rings or something like that. You know,
like a Game of Thrones.
Yeah, exactly. That kind of magical world.
Yeah.
I think of you know, nothing makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, things like that would be great.
Yeah.
And then I think because the detailing when you look at the sets. And I always watch the behind the scenes. So the Harry Potters, I've watched the behind the scenes and everything like that. But I think that the how far they go to make frosting on the windows and things like that, you know. And the thing that they say is, oh, it can all be green screen now, or it can all be, you know, AI'd or whatever. It actually can't, because you put actors in a green box and ask them to act, they can't do it. You have to build a certain percentage of the set for them to bounce off of,
to be able to use it.
So I think something magical like that would be amazing. I'm not sure I'll ever get there, because it's a very small world.
Well, if you do,
if I do,
you have to let us know.
million budgets, that would be great.
Love that. Brilliant. Okay. Another question. What's been the most challenging set you've designed, and how did you overcome it?
Oh, gosh. Oh, my God. I'm trying to think. Oh, my gosh. Which one was difficult? I think treat people with kindness.
Really?
It was a huge set.
Yeah.
But we couldn't fix to anything. So the entire set had to be... It was like an old 1930s, you know, style. Yeah. And we had to go in black and white, so you're thinking about textures and how things show up in black and white, not in color. So when you looked at the set, it was weird, right? So it was yellows, blues, and it was all like that, but actually on camera the yellow showed up less than the blues, and you're doing it, the grayscale doesn't work. So what you've got to do is do colors to that then translate into the black and white. And textures, and then you're talking about shadows. But the biggest thing were they were huge, big structures, and they couldn't be fixed to anything. So I had to design something that was self-supporting. And the one thing that also we did was the opening scene of that is one take, and people don't quite realize that. I think that's because there's a bit where you don't realize, but you've got them in this office at the top, and we actually built that above the set, and then the camera comes down and out comes Harry, and that was one take, and the one takes are really difficult because you've got no break, right, you've got nowhere to run. Like we've you know, we have done one takes where we've done something, set it up, flipped over the back of the sofa and hid behind the sofa as the camera revolves around, you know. So there is magic. And I think with that one, it was very much construction, huge, black and white, plus a one scene take. It does cut later, it's not the whole thing, but just at the very beginning, the first 20-30 seconds is one take. And the camera, and a massive camera rig that came in and came down. So I think that technically wise, it was very difficult.
Amazing. Okay, so final question then, to round it all off. Anyone, like any young people or any people who are kind of looking to go into this world of like set design, maybe the TV or film industry, what's one piece of advice you would give to them to keep them knocking on people's doors?
Oh, that's the thing, because a lot of people said, oh, I tried to get in the industry, but you got to keep knocking and take the knockbacks. And I think, so first of all, learn technology. I'm still learning, and I'm in my 50s.
Always good to keep learning.
You got to keep. I'm going to courses on AI. I'm going to courses in new camera lenses. How can I design if I don't know what the new lens is? You know, and I think keep up to date with all the latest technology. And manipulate it into how you create. I'm not AI create it for me. But how can I use that as almost like another paint in my toolkit?
To kind of
to create what I'm going to make for camera. And then, but also I think. Learn everything, be inspired by everything. watch a lot of behind the scenes, which is how I love all the Harry Potter type stuff. Learn how they do it. What new techniques did they need to learn to create that? Every new film pushes the boundary a bit further. And then just keep knocking. And there's schemes out there, there's training schemes, but really, honestly, it was just at the right time. I get a lot of CVs coming to me, and sometimes I'm so busy. I know I'm literally on an 18-hour day. I've been traveling up and down the country, and I get a CV. I will not read it. No, I'm so busy. I'm so tired.
Of course.
But there will be a moment when I go, oh, I'm looking for a draftsman. And a CV will come through, and I'll be like, oh, let's give them a try. So you'll just hit it at the right point, and that is the years of doing it. And it's hard. It is hard. It's demoralizing and everything. But if you keep going, at some point, someone will want you or have you on set, and then you'll start learning. And then once you're in, just keep going. Hammer that person again. and also don't be embarrassed to ask and phone, because I do it. I did it the other day. I phoned up someone and I was like, I'm here, you've got that project coming through from ITV. And they're like, so I'm just reminding you of me. That's all I'm saying. Like that. So, you kind of like that whole, like, not being embarrassed. They may not choose me, but
at least you've asked.
You've got to ask and network. I still network. I go to things. I think I was saying to you, after this, I'm off networking. So, you never know where that next job's going to come from.
Exactly.
So,
Lovely.
No.
Well, thank you very much
for
that. Thank you for coming here and sitting and chatting with me. It's been lovely. I will definitely be watching films and TV shows now and looking out for little things and where the cameras are, and watching way more BTS as well.
Yes.
Definitely. So thank you so much. And keep knocking on those doors, guys. And thank you so much for watching. And we'll be back with another pod episode very soon. Bye.